What keeps you awake at night?
Sea levels are rising globally.
Fears fueled by horror stories.
Among the worst flu season in a decade, and it hasn't peaked yet.
We all know the atomic bomb is very dangerous.
Another series of deadly terror attacks.
I don't want to be blamed if you cannot get to sleep tonight.
So I have a fun story.
Okay, go for it.
I'm unsure if I've talked about this on the podcast, so I'll just start fresh.
Perfect.
My knees are very swollen, and I'm in a pit of human suffering. And it's been like this for like 3 weeks. I went to a doctor, and he said it was just dumb luck, which I love to hear.
Some good
The American
reason.
healthcare system is fucking incredible. Weird flex, but okay. And Hassan's parents were not happy about hearing that, as they are doctors, and his father's an orthopedic surgeon. So
convenient.
I've just been putting anti-inflammatory gel on my knees and wearing compression pads. Fun fact, I guess I am allergic to the plastic in the compression pads, so I got blisters all over my legs, which I adore.
Hey, Olivia.
And so
what's happening to your body?
And so I had to stop wearing the compression pads because I was getting blisters and like they pop and it was disgusting. Which has led to scarring, which I also fucking love.
God.
And last night, every Friday, I have a ritual. And my ritual is, I only wash my hair once a week because my hair is like crazy dry.
Yeah.
So I wash my hair, I do a deep conditioning mask, I wash my face, I exfoliate, I do a face mask, you know, for once in a week. Just a little treat. And I was washing my hair and I slipped. Now, thankfully I didn't hit my head, because that would be awful. But I did land full force directly on my left knee.
Olivia!
Like, I mean like fucking slammed. Like have you seen that video of the guy that like... Yeah, have you seen the video of the guy who like slips and spills his Slurpee?
Yeah.
It's the
it's like full fucking force.
We should post the meme on our Instagram, but it's have you seen the edits where it's the GameCube startup menu?
Yeah,
that exact thing.
Yeah, and then
slam.
It's just instead of it's shit, and he drops the Slurpee just outside the doors of a 7-Eleven.
Right, like so like full weight on my fucking left knee, and I laugh just because, you know, the hilarity as pain is shooting and radiating through my leg and to my hip.
Right.
Yeah, this might as well happen. Yeah.
Yes, on top of everything else. Love that.
Oh, Olivia.
Also getting a UTI in the same week.
No!
Which I adore. And so I go to bed, anti-inflammatory cream on my knee. And I'm, like, propping up my legs in a weird way because I can't sleep because I'm in such discomfort. And I wake up, and my knee, like, you can't... It's one of those things where I can't really see a bruise, but I can tell there's internal swelling.
Sure.
So it hurts to bend my knee, and I'm in constant pain. And it's, like, it's to the point where I can't be in cold rooms because the cold, like... hurts all of the things in my knee. I'm not a doctor, but the things, if you will. Items. It's a technical term. And so now I just study at Hassan's house because it's slightly warm.
Oh my god.
And, like, it's the only way that I can't feel pain radiate to my hip.
And now you're crammed into a closet, right?
Yes.
Cool.
And I'm in so much pain that if anything happens, I can't leave until this recording is over. Because getting up just like is just the most horrible experience. And I'm in so much pain, and I'm taking ibuprofen up the yin yang, keeping an eye on what the lethal dose is.
Oh boy.
So anyway, I'm very excited to talk about serial killers and put myself in a better mood. I'm Olivia.
I am Brooke.
I'm Brie.
Hey, how we doing, guys?
Better than you.
Yeah, I feel like we should, like...
Thanks.
Because, you know, our podcast, we do really dark shit already, you know? Like,
yeah.
Our gig is making people sad. Like...
I guess.
It's our brand.
We should at least have a happy opener at some point, right?
You'd think.
Just to
one of these
alleviate
days.
it. Especially because
What could we talk about that could possibly be happy?
God, anything. I for this episode, what I like to do before my recordings and my heavy hitters is send the gals like a cute meme or video, just for them
It
to
does
watch.
help.
Which is so ominous.
What?
Yeah, it doesn't happen every time, but when it does, we know we're in for some shit.
Yeah, because you know, and I just send them like today it was a corgi going through a maze of cans to get his toy at the other end.
He's a good boy.
He was a good boy.
Love him.
Yeah, and it's we just. I would like to say that it's gonna get lighter. It's not. It's, if anything, it's gonna get much darker.
So much worse.
So now
Is this podcast just like our audience listening to us lose our minds in real time? Is that
pain
how this is
ASMR.
happening?
Honestly, and because I've been editing for a while, Brooke's taken over for a bit. Listening to how much we've changed since the first episode where we're like, I can't believe that this happened. And then now it's like, you're like, yeah, we hired Nazis. And I'm like, yeah. That sounds about right. That's about...
just understanding the evils of humanity. Speaking of understanding
less
the
and
evils of
less
humanity.
sad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you like my segue, lady?
God.
That was great. Okay.
I'm so ready.
Case study of the loss of innocence. So without further ado, I think it's Brie's turn.
Yeah. So now I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I listen to a lot of podcasts.
No. What?
Weird,
Fuck
right?
listens to podcasts.
Podcasts are garbage.
I wouldn't
Whatever,
say
man.
that. I do want to say a good 60% of those podcasts are about the very topic we are covering today: serial killers.
Yay!
I have listened to countless hours of audio describing how Bundy managed to convince young, beautiful women to get into his car and still have women fall at his feet while he was being tried for murder, which is absolutely fucking baffling to me.
Y'all need Jesus.
But I digress.
Yeah, he has a wife and a child.
What?
Yeah, he got married when he was in prison after being convicted
yeah.
and has a child.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't. We could spend an entire episode about the psychology of people idolizing serial killers,
Yeah.
but we don't have the time.
We do not. Maybe for another series. I've heard some of my favorite strangers talk about Dahmer's weird obsession with joggers and tight running shorts. But today, ladies, I'm going to be talking to you about a particular serial killer named the Grim Sleeper.
I've never heard of this.
Oh, Brooke.
Never heard of this.
Neither of us have. This is kind of weird.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear, because it's troubling. Oh, okay, this makes it so much worse. Oh, okay. Alright, so yeah, you guys have never... Olivia,
Actually, Grim Sleeper sounds familiar. Start talking about it, and I might remember.
We'll get into it. We're gonna start off with the actual arrest itself.
Okay.
So on July 7th, 2010, a man named Lonnie David Franklin Jr. Fuck. Can I start that over? We can cut this.
I want to leave that in.
I want it in. I get final say.
I was so, you know what, I'm like so excited for this series, and like, because of the fact that it's on serial killers, and I've literally like, I don't want to be one of those people that's like, oh, I love serial killers, because I don't, they're all monsters, but like, it's interesting,
Right.
And my first fucking sentence out of my, god damn it, okay, anyway.
No, take it away. Go again.
Okay,
Take two.
Okay. Lonnie David Franklin Jr. was arrested at his home in South Central Los Angeles.
She did it.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I felt
I like
I
to
felt
thank
good
the
about that too.
Academy.
But no. He was arrested at his home in South Central Los Angeles on July 7th, 2010, and he was arrested on 10 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Upon raiding his home,
Love it.
the Los Angeles Police Department found over 180 Polaroids of nude women, the vast majority of them missing. So you heard me right. 180 women.
Were they all different?
What?
Like were they all different? Because so you said 180 Polaroids, but were they all of different women?
Oh yeah. Each yeah. Over 100 Polaroids.
What was this man's name again?
Oh god.
What was this man's name again?
The Grim Sleeper, or Lonnie David Franklin Jr.
Oh, she did it again! Ladies and gentlemen!
I'm amazing.
Sorry.
I'm gonna get a degree one day. Now, why wasn't this fucking everywhere? Why haven't both you and Olivia heard about this, Brooke?
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Is this accusatory, or are you setting something up?
I'm setting something
because
up.
It sounds very blamey.
This is
We can talk
I came
about
out
this
to have
off.
a good time, and I'm feeling really attacked right now.
You know, it's been a long week, and I really do the best that I can, but I feel like you're coming at me with a lot of negative energy.
No. It's because Lottie's murders were known as NHIs. Does anyone know what NHI means?
I am afraid.
It means non-human incidents.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of.
I was gonna say non-human.
That's what I was
gonna
afraid
say. Okay, so my follow-up question is: were they all women of color?
Oh, ding, ding, ding.
I was thinking trans or prostitutes, but yeah.
Ooh, okay. Wait. You see, the Los Angeles Police Department didn't classify prostitutes or chronic drug users as humans. This is
God,
a real thing that the LAPD does. Since the vast majority, all except I believe 2, were victims, were not only prostitutes but black prostitutes.
Oh my god.
The Los Angeles Police Department would neglect these women's lives for a total of 25 years before Lonnie's initial arrest.
Yep. Our world is broken. We're all monsters. Oh my god.
Non-human.
You know what, Brie?
incidents.
Was this the documentary that I watched with you and your mom?
This is the documentary that you started to watch with me and my mom, and then my mom wanted to talk to you about politics, so we turned it off.
Yes. I recall this.
Yes. So, thank you for bringing that up, Olivia, because it segues perfectly, because my main source for today's episode was a documentary called The Tales of the Grim Sleeper. And I'm mentioning this because in this documentary, those who were closest to Lonnie, such as his sons, neighbors, and even prostitutes that had slept with Lonnie, give their first-hand accounts of the numerous red flags that Lonnie managed to hide for 25 years.
Jesus.
So let's get into how he did that exactly. Lonnie would lure black prostitutes from the ages of 14 to 36 into his trailer, car, or even his home, where his wife, son, and daughter lived. Yep. He promised...
A family? There's a family involved.
Yeah, I mean...
Cool.
Right, and that's horrific. He promised them money for their sex acts, as well as drugs or alcohol. One of the women in this documentary described Lonnie as a nerdy black man that would make them commit extremely degrading sexual acts. Some of these acts included barking like a dog and being led around the room with a leash. If the woman complied, they might have survived the experience. But if they made him feel at all inferior, or that if he was simply having a bad day, you might be shot or even strangled.
Yeah, see, I would have died. I would have been a dead person. He had been like, bark like a dog, and I would have laughed.
Yeah.
And that would have been it for me, I think.
Yeah. And that was the experience of a lot of these women, right?
God.
So, once these murders started to take place and women were going missing at a rapid pace, someone started to notice. Certainly not the LAPD, but someone.
Yeah.
A woman named Margaret Prescott started the Black Coalition Fighting Black Serial Murders in 1985 in hopes to help stop some of these killings.
God, somebody's gotta.
Right. When she went to the police trying to show the pattern of murders in the area, the police said to this woman, to her fucking face, "Why are you concerned about it? They are just black hookers."
Ooh, I'm uncomfy.
And she, also she is
angry.
Right. They said this to a black woman carrying, photos of missing people in her arms into a police station.
Yeah.
Okay, so the LAPD finally acknowledged that there was a serial killer in LA as early as 1988, but didn't make it known to the community that there was a fucking serial killer on the loose. Because why cause public upset? And indeed, they were non-human incidents, right?
God. I can't believe that's a thing. That's a term.
Right. At what point do you classify someone as not human anymore because they work in the sex industry as well as they might consume drugs and have an addiction, which is anyway, we're gonna unpack.
Anyway.
Okay, so one of the mothers didn't know her daughter was murdered via a serial killer. The way she found out was watching the news in 2008.
Oh, shit.
Oh my god.
So television is how she found out.
That's fucking awful.
Right. Some of the most alarming parts of the documentary for me were seeing Lonnie's friends and family realize just what type of man he truly is. It starts with his friends being in absolute denial, of course. His three best friends and neighbors were some of the primary interviews during this documentary. They all said that he was a really nice guy, and whenever you needed something, Lonnie would get it for you.
Okay.
They repeated this phrase a lot in the documentary because he worked in stolen cars, is what his friends and family would say. And they originally thought...
some real upstanding citizens we've got here.
Right. They originally thought that he was getting arrested for stealing cars when he was really being arrested for murder. Which, I can't imagine coming out of my home and seeing one of my neighbors that actively just, like, hangs out on the front lawn, like, his house being raided by police, and they're like, oh, you know, like, Lonnie's stealing cars again. And it's like, no, Lonnie raping and murdering prostitutes again.
Classic Lonnie.
Yeah. But then,
Oh boy.
as the documentary goes on, I think this is the saddest part for me, is seeing how the men in Lonnie's life, like, kind of recall certain things, and kind of the veil of ignorance get lifted. Gary, one of his closest friends, said that Lonnie would show and actively carry a .25 caliber gun in his yard.
Okay.
Fuck, that's a big gun.
No, it was a small pistol.
No, I know, but that pistol is
As pistols go.
is p big.
I'm honestly TBH. I'm not familiar with guns because they scare me.
Fair.
But apparently it was a handgun, I guess, and he would carry it in his yard, which was the exact same gun he used to commit all of these murders.
Oh boy.
He then went on to say Lonnie would show nude pictures of women to him and his other friends.
Just rando chicks, huh?
Well,
They thought that was normal?
right, yeah. Also, these women were probably dead or at least knocked out in the photographs.
Also, many of them were likely underage.
Right. There's so much wrong with the layers that we would have to unpack. Is just
We don't have the time.
Multiple people saw handcuffs and underwear literally falling out of his glove box in his car.
What the fuck?
It gets worse. Lonnie paid one of his closest, and I'm saying closest with air quotes, I know that it's an audio medium, so you can't really see that, paid one of his closest friends to clean mysterious stains that looked like oil, but were not oil, out of his car a total of 6 to 7 times.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is him cleaning up a crime scene.
Right.
Essentially.
Yeah.
He again manipulated those around him and paid a man in his neighborhood to burn a car with bloody clothing in it in exchange for drugs.
Okay.
Some other signs that showed what type of guy Lonnie was is his attitude towards women. Now,
No shit.
Obviously, it goes without saying that killing prostitutes after raping them and forcing them to do extremely dehumanizing sex acts is a sign that Lonnie isn't gonna value a lady.
You know, I'm forced to agree with you, Brie.
Right. His friends also recalled some telling incidents that really were could be triggers for his serial rampages. Basically, Ronnie didn't have an incredible marriage with his wife.
I'm surprised.
His wife was practically moved out at the point. For large portions of their marriage, she didn't really even sleep in the same bed. His friends would say in the years of knowing Lonnie that they had never seen them so much as drive in the same car together.
That's for the best. Also,
God.
I'm shocked that he didn't kill her.
Yes.
I'm not shocked.
Well, but
I mean, he seems
No.
to just... There was no value of women, and he did it so often, you'd think that he'd just be like, I don't like this woman I live with. Bang, you know?
No, I read, what's it called? Mindhunter, and they talk about, like, stuff like that, and essentially, what I'm gonna assume is what it is he is using this as kind of like a control thing, like projecting it on other people, because he can't really control his wife or make her stay or do anything like that. I'm kind of shocked they didn't get a divorce. Maybe it's just a cultural thing. Maybe it's like a money issue. But maybe he's just like acting out the aggression on other women. But
Yeah,
I'm not
maybe.
shocked that he hasn't killed his wife.
Right, and-
Because it's like an impulse to kill and control women. And he knows that he's not going to get caught if he kills
I guess
prostitutes.
that's true.
But he's going to get caught if he killed his wife.
in a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of that was, like, very true. There are some serial killers who have, like, escalations up to their prime,
Yeah.
I guess, cause of their anger or whatever, their trigger. Some just will kill women who look like the initial woman. Like, Bundy did that, right? Bundy only killed brunettes, and, like, but they were all women that looked like his ex-girlfriend. That made him really upset.
Yeah, and what is it? Ed Kemper, like, killed a lot of sorority girls. He's the sorority killer.
Yeah.
Because he was mad at his mom, so it was like controlling women in a way because he couldn't kill his mom. He eventually did kill her, but this is not the episode talking about it, but he definitely paralleled it enough where he would bury the women's heads in a way that they'd be facing up to his mother's window because she always wanted people to look up to her. Fun
That's
fact.
fucked.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it's the same thing as, like, he wanted to kill his mom, but
Right.
he killed women where he wouldn't get caught. He eventually did kill her, and that's how he got
I
caught.
think, yeah, this one for me is, since Lonnie's wife would be out of the house all the time,
Yeah.
and practically moved out because their marriage was falling apart, he had loads of opportunity to bring prostitutes back to the home and do whatever the fuck he wanted.
Yeah.
He was obviously very perverse, and sexually just sexually. I don't even know what to call his acts. But he would basically take out his anger, and his anger got more and more horrific. And dark and twisted in his sexual fantasies as, like, I guess his hatred for his wife escalated and things become more distant. It becomes easier to kill.
Did they interview his wife?
No. No. They interviewed
Is she just, like, not involved in any of it? She hasn't ever made a statement?
Which, fair.
Yeah, I get it. I was just wondering because maybe the reason that she is never there is because he has been bringing prostitutes for a long time and she's aware of it.
I mean,
that's true.
It could be that. It could be she just kind of saw
like
the
him.
type of person he was intimately and then just wanted to bail, but not for the kids, didn't know how bad it was. We don't know. We won't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, I'm all speculating here, but that is honestly, it's just my best read of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, granted, I'm not a professional. I can only just take what I know from other serial killers and shit, and, like, all the the criminal minds type of information I take on a daily day basis, looking at Matthew Gray Goobler's face. God, I love him.
Same.
And they interviewed him? Did they talk to him?
They didn't talk to Lonnie. They talked to his son Christopher, which we'll get into. One of the people that they did interview, though. And this was a moment that really caught me off guard in the documentary, was Lonnie's son's Christopher, his ex-girlfriend.
Okay.
So Christopher's ex-girlfriend was in and out of the Franklins for the majority of her junior year. She even took vacations with the Franklin family, and she started to become
that.
Yeah. Well, it gets worse. She started to become uneasy when she noticed Lonnie had 3 phones. When she asked him about these phones, he would simply say, one is for business, one is for personal, and one is for his hoes and crackheads.
Oh, good. I was hoping there'd be a euphemism, but we're just gonna right out there.
Right.
Cool.
Yikes.
Like many others, she would see pornography all over their home, as well as women's underwear, Polaroids, the whole 9 yards. She also recalls incidents of Lonnie standing just outside of the door when her and Christopher would be intimate.
Hate that. Hate that.
That's gross.
Something that really made me uneasy, too, is there were pictures of her in the house, like, put in the garage with his collection of other pictures.
Oh,
No.
don't like that at all.
Oh, so that's not good. That's bad news.
Which, if I was her and found all of this out, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so a lot. Other warning signs includes his multiple violent outbursts.
No. Him? No way.
Yeah. Lonnie, he's such a nice guy.
Never. Anything you need, he's got it.
Right.
What the fuck?
One evening, Lonnie and Richard, one of his closest friends, went to look for cars when Lonnie saw a woman walking past his car. Lonnie suddenly lashed out and pulled the car over next to the woman.
Whoa.
Lonnie gets out of the car and begins to have an extremely hostile conversation with the woman. Richard then says Lonnie grabs the woman by her hair and begins to drag her.
Nope. Not into it. Don't like it.
At this point, Richard gets out of the car and yells at him to stop while the woman is begging for him to stop. And out of nowhere, police come from all angles and arrest both men.
Ha!
What?
Right. So what I think could have happened was possibly she was a plant of some sort.
Yeah,
and they
it
were
sounds
trying
like
to,
it was a sting.
Right. And they were trying to track his activity for cars. We don't know. But the point of the story, it being horrific and truly terrifying as it is, was that he was arrested, right?
Yay!
Because when you are arrested, you usually have your DNA collected.
Oh.
Right.
Linking him to his crimes.
Uh-huh.
But no.
Oh.
What?
The police didn't collect any evidence when they arrested him.
Why?
What year was this?
Okay, so this is great question, great observation. Basically, this is before the act where you have to collect DNA evidence.
Okay.
He was actually arrested 15 times.
What?
Yep. During his murder spree, from which if they had simply collected any DNA evidence, they would have found the Grim Sleeper.
Anger. So much anger in my body.
So now it's telling to say that the Grim Sleeper went on a hiatus for 18 years, calling him the Grim Sleeper, because there was just a point where he was just gone, hence the name.
Right.
And during this time, no one really knows what happened, but
right.
that was a break in time where basically the DNA thing kind of merged over.
Sure, yeah.
But the Los Angeles Police Department was tirelessly working on finding the Grim Sleeper.
Fuck off.
Yeah, sarcastic, obviously.
They're just fucking peeking outside the police station, like looking around.
See him.
They kind of yell, "Has anybody seen anything?" And it's just quiet, and they're like, "Well,
we've done all we can.
Done our due diligence."
Yeah.
Right. So basically, Lonnie was such a, basically the most sloppy serial killer I've ever seen, right? He would drop off bodies as close as 5 blocks from his home.
Jesus.
5 blocks from his home. But he knew he could get away with it because of the high levels of crime in that area. But he did slip up.
No, you know what? We're actually going to take a couple steps back where you said that the LAPD was working tirelessly to find...
Right.
You know what that means? Do you know what that actually means? That means that the LAPD was just indiscriminately stopping and killing black men is what that means.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, this was an excuse.
No.
Fuck, I'm so angry.
Yeah, it's the amount of racism in this one. Ooh, boys. So, Lonnie would drop off these bodies very close to his house up until the point where one of the bodies he was dropping off of, he literally pushed a body out of his car, and they saw him moving the body from his car. Someone called the police seeing him do this, and left a voicemail describing his car, his plate numbers, not a voicemail, but, he called 911 to the 911 operator.
Yeah, with the dispatcher, for sure.
Yeah.
Hi, this is the Los Angeles Police Department. Leave a message after the beep if it's only white women being killed. Too real? Was that too...
no, it was just
It's
real
on the nose,
enough.
I'll tell you what.
Right. So, basically, this call comes into the police department, and it ends describing the vehicle, and someone says, now, who's calling? And the person on the phone says, oh, I know too much and too many people to say who I am. Bye, thank you, and hangs up the phone. A lot of people interpret this to be Lonnie himself calling the police.
Fascinating.
Right. But some people just say that it could have been Lonnie's, like, friend, neighbor, someone who knew Lonnie, knew too much, or just generally a black individual who didn't want to have to deal with the police.
No, yeah, that... it could have been any, but that makes sense to me.
Right. So there was a hiatus. Now, during this hiatus, obviously the police made no advancements in the case, and the... Right. A black coalition of serial murders started to try to hunt down these women and turn in DNA evidence, such as, like, basically, they were trying to essentially turn in police sketches. They went to prostitutes in the area who had slept with Lonnie and seen if they had known anything. They got so accurate in their own detective work at a point where they literally named him down to 2 houses away.
Ugh.
But the police said, oh, that's not them. Let's stop looking.
Damn it.
Right.
Fuck, man.
So, after 25 years of killing with a hiatus, eventually the police arrested Lonnie in 2010 during a press conference.
Oh, that's recent.
That's so recent.
Yeah. Yep. Wow. During a press conference, the LA PD said that... Oh, it was actually... Okay, so look, this is great. It was... The LAPD was holding the press conference, but it was the future mayor of Los Angeles, before he was elected into being mayor, was praising the Los Angeles police for their hard police work and exhaustive detective work on the case. To which Margaret Prescott interrupted the conference with cases and evidence of how they were deliberately ignoring the people of the community and putting lives at risk just so that way they could eliminate prostitutes off the street. During Christopher's interview, he said that men had come up to him and police officers had come up to him saying that his dad was doing good work by cleaning prostitutes off of the street.
What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Right. But what eventually led to Lonnie's arrest? Was it the amazing police work that the Los Angeles police had done over the countless years?
I'm gonna be the pessimist.
I'm gonna go with no.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be because they killed someone they actually cared about.
No, well, no. It's worse. No. It's basically Lonnie's son Christopher was arrested for an arms charge, and this was the point where DNA evidence was collected for everyone.
Oh, God. Okay.
So his son was arrested, and they started noticing DNA markers linking him to the crime scenes because it's his, biological son. And so eventually they didn't tie it to him, obviously. They tied it to his father. So what they did is they went to a pizza parlor, and they waited until Lonnie ate a piece of pizza and took his crust.
Oh, that's
not
so
legal.
illegal.
Ran his DNA, and basically raided his home and arrested him.
I mean, not that I necessarily feel bad for a serial murderer, but that's not due process.
Right.
Nope.
So when basically his defense team, which, by the way, his defense team looks like a fucking vampire off of Twilight. He literally is like the most gross-looking man. He's just so... He's so pale.
Hey, that's not nice. The vampires in Twilight were gorgeous.
Right? Sure.
I guess. Anyway, he was gross. He was a gross, crusty little old man defending a murderer that just was horrific and awful. And he basically said that this was unjust collection of evidence. And then the judge was like... I mean, yeah. But then the judge was like, no. You had nothing else to do with that pizza.
I don't know how I feel now because they've caught a murderer, but they've done it in a racist way. And I don't...
Like, this is so...
How am I supposed to feel?
This is so much. The only reason he was arrested and, taken off the streets and prevented from killing more people is because the LAPD is a bunch of racist pricks. And there's so much here.
Right.
This is like that meme of the superhero wiping his brow and the two buttons are like using due process and convicting a serial killer that's killing prostitutes, and you're like,
don't know.
But like, this is the thing, is why I don't have a problem with it, is because like, he's awful. Like I'm fine with it. At this point, I'm fine with it. You just fucking put him in prison. I don't care.
I can get behind that, but
right,
because it doesn't just extend to this guy; it's everyone.
Right?
Yeah, if you're like, we can not use due process if we really feel like this is the one. Can't get behind that.
Well, and 100%, but also like, the whole situation's fucked up. But moving on, Christopher, Lonnie's son, who was being interviewed for the documentary, said that he felt enormous guilt for his father's arrest.
What? What? Chris, buddy,
why have you done this to me? I was on your side. We were all rooting for you.
Oh, we were not all rooting for you. We do not stan.
We don't stand, Chris?
We don't stand?
I'm gonna get into it. But basically... Oops, sorry. He shook my microphone. Basically, I'm shook. Sorry, I'm sorry. During Chris's interview, he described that he felt bad for his father because of the fact that his DNA linked him to the crimes, you know? And that if he just didn't have that gun charge, none of this would have happened. But...
Bitch! Sorry.
Right.
Chris?
And he said that he was actually shunned by people in his family and community for snitching his father out.
I have so many feelings.
Right. And so this is the thing that, like, I want to take away from that. Also, like, Chris's behavior was apparently extremely aggressive and violent, according to his ex-girlfriend. He had been arrested for like violent crimes, and like he basically kind of followed in the same track as his father, right? The cycle of abuse that continues. I think I'm not incredibly supportive of this man. However, like, you can only do so much when your father is a serial killer raping and killing women in your home actively.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, you know. But this is the whole mindset, right? And this is where I guess we can dive into the real meaning, or what really kept me up at night about this episode was just the incredible amounts of racism throughout this entire case.
Yeah, it's so loaded. Like,
right, just seeded into this. Because
top to bottom, from the victims to the perpetrator himself, like, it's just, there's so much here. Right.
Because in Black communities, you know, like, they don't get the privilege of calling the police whenever something's going on. Right?
Fuck no.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to get believed. If anything, they're going to be harmed.
Yeah, also you have your neighbors upset with you if you call the police.
Right.
That's like a really common...
You'll be shunned by your community, which is exactly what happened to Chris, right? He had no...
It's not safe,
Right. And which is understandable. I will never as a white person, I will never understand that mindset of what it's like to not feel safe around people that their job is to protect and serve me.
Yeah.
The police department, obviously, in the Los Angeles Police Department, neglected to serve the community, period.
And continues to do so. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's built into the system.
Right, right.
Yeah.
We can talk about...
I would love to do, like, a part 2 on groupthink, because I absolutely love analyzing the psychology of police.
We could just do a police series.
Police training.
We don't have to do a part 2 group thing. We can just do a police series. Let's go all out.
There's
go
enough
throttle.
there.
Bummer. Yeah, so that's a bummer that, like, they truly just didn't care. They thought he was cleaning up the streets, essentially doing something that they wish that they could do.
Right.
By, like, neglecting arresting him.
If you look at the perspective of police in that area, right? There's literal police driving down the street going, "Hey, Steve. Yeah, Carl? You know what? This corner on 82nd has been pretty empty as of recently. You know? We're seeing a lot less sex trafficking." Like, what is... you know, like, that's their mindset. They have no concern over the individuals who actually work and who are prostitutes and are just trying to gain any sort of income in one of the most dangerous places in America.
Jesus.
It's cyclical, that's for sure.
Right, and then you have the perspective from the women that are actually sleeping with these men. And through the documentary, they interviewed a lot of prostitutes. One of them was this woman named Pam, who is my absolute favorite woman on this planet. She was a prostitute that used to be really active in the 80s, in the late 80s, early 90s, when the Grim Sleeper was active, and she actually had slept with him. Right. But when he told her to bark like a dog, she went, "I'm not a fucking bitch, you can drop me off here." Smart woman. And she said that prostitution was, like, very involved with crack cocaine at the time, obviously, which is another factor, right, is just the amount of drugs within those communities. And she said that, you know, she was high on crack all the time. She would do what it took to survive and get the money that she needed for her addiction. And she had been clean off of crack as of, I think when this documentary was made was 2014. She had been clean for 4 years.
Hey!
Great for her. And she has, like, started her own home. She lives in Los Angeles, and, like, she basically was their guide around the streets of talking to these women, and, like, she would just pull up and they would, like, recognize her from, like, train stations and, like, right, and so, like, she was just very, and she was just this beautifully sweet and funny woman. One of my favorite quotes from her from the documentary is, hold on, let me flick through my notes here and try to find it. I don't have any respect for pimps. I don't have any respect for a man that makes a woman sell her pussy without selling his dick with them.
Damn, Pam is my fucking hero. Put that on a shirt.
I just, like, and she's just so, like, she's explaining it from a point of view, and, like, the people who interviewed her, as well as, like, just the people who were conducting this film, were all, like, British, like, white men, like, you know.
Jesus.
So, like, she was like, yeah, you know, like, I'll keep you guys safe in this neighborhood. You guys don't understand the dynamics here. And I think it's really easy for them and us to have been like, you know, these careless things. Literally seeing panties fall out of his glove box, and, like, that's, you know, horrifying. These acts that he would have towards these prostitutes, and how violent he would get and how aggressive, and, like, you know, just, like, all of these fucking red flags. Why didn't somebody finally, like, pick one up and see it? Is because what were they gonna do? Report it to the police?
Yeah. No.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's scary, is that, as, you know, when you look at Bundy and Gacy and all of these, like, serial killers that are, like, pushed in the press as being, like, these, like, I don't know, media phenomenons, right? They're all men that killed white, pretty women, and were, what was the quote from, the leader of the Black Coalition said that, if this was happening on UCLA's campus, the police would actually care.
Yeah.
So,
Yeesh.
yeah, it's, you know, it's very telling, obviously, and it's as a white person who, like, never has to deal with any of this horrible, you know, racism in their entire life. Like, I feel at least somewhat safe around police officers, granted, not my fave group of people in the entire world. I think that just because of the system, it's problematic. We can't get into this right now. But what I am saying is that, as a Black person, there is a whole separate form of thinking where you have to protect yourself against police. And not only these people who are, like, committing crimes and are committing these violent acts, but you also have to protect your family against police that can harm you. And I think that, you know, the fact that someone's life is valued more than another person's life because they, you know, have sex with men for money or they use drugs is the most bullshit thing I've ever heard in my life. And people need to care about other people and human lives, period. The LAPD was extremely negligent handling this case. Fuck the Los Angeles Police Department. Yeah.
Beyond.
They're personally responsible for many, many, many women dying.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to say, I guess, about the actual, like, circumstances of the case and why Lonnie was allowed to get away was the number one reason being racism. Just the Los Angeles Police Department not caring about Black women. Also, the fact that he had a very broken home in which he could kill women, and the fact that he had a job in the sanitation department where he could dump the bodies in the landfills.
Fuck, man. Did they find any of the bodies?
They found 12 concretely linking him to the cases. When he's now on death row, and he got the death penalty. As of 2016, he was convicted.
God.
Yeah, he's gonna die. But the bodies were like he totally had 12 victims that are like accounted for and directly linked to him. The police estimate anywhere upwards over 200.
Jesus!
Which...
wow.
They haven't found the bodies because they're likely dumped in these landfills.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, that's a horrifically large number. How many victims did Bundy have? 40, 24, something? Below 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, not much. Sorry, I can't...
Right. Gacy was mid-20s, but these people are the ones that we fear. And I think, honestly, we have to pay attention to signs in any community and understand that, that though the system is unfair, extremely unfair, and we should work on fixing it, that people's lives could have been saved. And that we should recognize the signs.
I think that is the thing for me that keeps me up at night. I want to avoid this turning into a ramble, because it very easily could.
Right, I just went off for 20 minutes about it, but go on.
Yeah.
Would go off.
We're talking about a serial killer, and, he is responsible for the actions he committed, but we are also talking about a system where no one is set up to fail if you're a person of color, especially if you're black. And, the blood is on the LAPD's hands. 100%.
Yeah.
This went on for decades. He wasn't convicted until 2016. That's insane. And there is a tendency when you are white, as we all are, to sort of apologize for, police officers, because a lot of the things I hear when I talk to, for instance, my very, very white relatives about the issues with the police... is that, well, some of them are bad, but there are plenty of good cops. And
right.
I think it is so important. Well, and we can go into...
Yeah, but it's one of those things, but but that's not...
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about, first of all. But the other thing is that, this is a group of people, a rather large group of people, who actively and purposefully want black people, prostitutes... women dead.
Yeah.
This is not fake. This is not something that these people are making up. When black people, groups like Black Lives Matter say cops want us dead, it's the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
And I shudder to think about what is happening right now that is being ignored for the sake of, well, the cops really just want them dead, so they're letting it happen.
Man, the thing that keeps me up at night is a long one. So if I may have the oak.
Yeah, let me get that soapbox for you.
Is it oak?
Is it scuffed at this point?
I mean, we've been using it enough.
Taking pretty good care of it.
I try to keep it polished.
Okay. That's good. We give it a fresh varnish every now and again.
We get it restained. It's nice.
Good.
That's where the Patreon money goes to. Restaining the box on which we stand on.
Thanks, Cassidy.
On rants about racism in the United States.
$9. Anyway.
So this has been kind of on my mind for a while, and I've talked about it with them, and I've never talked about it on the podcast. Being at UCLA, it's just such a mixing pot. There's such a variety of cultures and opinions that I'm surrounded by.
Yeah.
And something recently that happened to me with somebody who will not be named was they made a comment about how there's a lot of homeless people in LA. And I said, yeah, it's so unfortunate, because we're not giving them any support. And, it's fucking freezing here. It
snowed near Calabasas.
Yeah. It's easily 45 degrees at night. And there's homeless people sleeping on the street. And that's so unfortunate and horrible. And this person goes, where I'm from, we, all these people, we built homes for them and we put them there. And I'm like, those are slums. Like, those aren't homes. You're taking a group of people and you're putting them somewhere else.
Yeah.
And they're like, no. Like, it's like homes. Like, it's places they can live. And I'm like, they're not building them nice homes. They're building them concrete blocks. And I've been kind of sitting with that for a few weeks and talking with other people who have similar phenomena. You take the poor, you take the less affluent, in their eyes, the less important, and you just put them somewhere else.
Yeah.
Same as like the housing projects in LA, right? Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah,
And
Christian has talked about, he lived in Brazil. Very different attitude coming from Christian than this person you're talking about, but he has been very candid about, in Brazil, the entire reason why the favelas exist is because they were like, well, we don't like that the poor are visible, so we're just going to put them here, and now we don't have to look at them.
Right. And it's, this person that I was talking to, just completely unaware of what that meant. They've been told, like, this is a good thing. They've been given a place to live. They've obviously never seen the conditions. But, like, talking with Hassan, who talks about the literal slaves that live in Dubai and the housing that they have, just this phenomena of, I don't like dealing with this group of people, and so I'm going to put them somewhere else. And it's this psychological conditioning of out of sight, out of mind. If I don't see them, it's not bad. And when you're physically separated from people over time, you have negative thoughts on them. It's the human mind. If you're not interacting with people of a variety of cultures and backgrounds, you lack the empathy, right? Especially if you're told that this is fine and this is correct.
Yeah.
And, this is just so evident of putting poor people somewhere else in an insulated community. Nobody really cared. Like, they're somewhere else. Why should I worry about them, is the attitude. Everything seems fine. I'm not hearing about it. I don't see them. I don't see their living conditions. I don't see the bodies getting dumped. It's fine. That's what keeps me up about this, is just this effect globally, whether it's here or India or Dubai or China or, Eastern Europe, like everywhere, is just this constant phenomena of putting them somewhere else and not having to think about the bad things that are happening. So, like, this is just a symptom of this thing that's really been rolling through my mind, and especially the people who think that this is a good situation to have. Like, they're in the housing projects. Everything's fine. Or, like, they have, rent-controlled housing. Everything's fine, right? Which is just...
God.
I don't know, man. It just really upsets me that there are people who truly believe that putting people somewhere else solves the problem. And this is just one of the little components of that. Of putting people somewhere else and not caring about what happens to them. Not even putting people
somewhere else, but killing them is fine because they're NHI.
Right?
Like,
God, that phrase.
I mean, like, also, too, this happens in Irvine and it happens in LA. If you're homeless and you're in an affluent area, the police literally pick you up and drop you off somewhere else because they don't want people to see it. Right? And, like,
I go to UC Irvine, and that was a hot topic for a hot second where, if you're homeless, Irvine is not a city. It is a corporation first.
Yeah.
And it is a city second. So the police will take you to Santa Ana and drop you there. And that's where you are now.
Yeah.
Because it's illegal to be homeless in Irvine.
Right? And it's like, it's the same thing, I'm sure, in his area. They'd pick up the sex workers and they would put them in an area where people didn't have to see them, essentially concentrating a vulnerable population of people, right, in an area with a predator, knowingly putting vulnerable people into essentially the hunting ground for someone they know exists. Like, isn't that... That's what they did. They put the problems somewhere else, knowing that it would be resolved.
Well, and it was the perfect storm. It was already a really, like, very like, poor community, right? It was like, there was already bodies just on the streets from just basic, like, violent crimes that were happening in the area. People were getting shot all the time. Like, and it was just horrific. And it's literally, like, there was always crimes happening. So, like, it was just another thing that was happening. And it's horrible and sad to think about.
So that's what keeps me up. Just the fact that they knew what was happening. They had problems they didn't want to resolve. They put what they thought to be problems in a place where they knew it would get fixed with a man who probably killed over 100 people at the very least. And
at the very least.
I can't imagine how much worse it is considering that nobody really cares.
No one cared. So yeah, and that happened in like 2010 was his arrest.
Right.
So
Man.
you know,
I can't, like...
our world is fucked.
All of the serial killers where they specifically target, like, sex workers or runaway kids or anything like that, it's always so horrific to me how high the body count is compared to,
Right.
you know, Ed Kemper, who killed affluent sorority girls, or Ted Bundy, you know, or Jeffrey Dahmer was killing gay men, and nobody cared. Like, it's always so haunting to know
Marginalized communities.
that you could easily...
And it's like, with Dahmer, it was like when he was a man literally ran out of his apartment with massive wounds to his head because Dahmer was about to
fill his brain
basically
with
perform a
battery
lobotomy
acid
on him to make him into one of his sex zombies. He ran out into the street, literally into a police car.
Yeah.
And Dahmer came out to the police and said, "No, we're just doing gay stuff inside." And the police went, "Gay? Ew. Go about your night. I don't want to touch that."
Yeah, and literally dropped him back off at Dahmer's apartment.
Right, Dahmer just escorted him back inside.
Like...
And I think that, obviously, the system is broken. We will have a police series later. We have to.
Yeah.
We have to have a...
I think that's just
gonna
a must
happen
at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was a really upsetting topic to research. The NHI thing was like one of the first things I read that just put me in a horrible mood for the rest of my research, because, you know, the fact that the police don't see human beings as human beings is
horrible,
horrific. But I hope you enjoyed the episode, at least.
Please leave us a review on iTunes. Really appreciate it.
We should have like a podcast on the side that's just positive things.
I want to say quick correction, 25 caliber, small gun. I was thinking of another gun. I know the gun nuts were mad. My view.
the gun nuts that listen to this podcast.
Yeah, all the gun nuts. Yeah, no, it's actually, it's the James Bond style mini handgun is the 25 caliber.
Oh.
So in a way, it is still pretty creepy because it means it was very small and concealable, and I hate that. It's also...
He would just carry it around
It's
casually.
also considered one of the worst defensive handguns to have. Like, people who do own guns are like, this is a shitty gun. Like, it doesn't have good long range if you are truly using this for defense. The only reason you would have it is because it's concealable. Like, it's genuinely considered a bad gun to own. So the only reason you would want to have it is not for quality, but for the ability to hide it. So...
Hate that.
Yeah.
Hate it. Super cool.
Do we want to go through our social media spill and get this over?
Yeah, so follow us on social media at TTKMeUp. We have a website at ttkmeup.com, and at TTKMeUp is our Twitter and our Instagram. We love interacting with you on Twitter. We respond to a lot of stuff. I also respond to a lot of stuff on my personal Twitter. I follow the tag. We love all you beautiful creatures. We have a Patreon if you want to help us out. You can find it through the website. What else am I thinking about?
Oh yeah, the Patreon is going to be suspended for all one of you who donates. The Patreon will be suspended during our hiatus, so you don't have to pay for nothing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As is fair. And as for the continued episodes, next week we have my good man Hassan. He'll be here to talk about
finally be on this
Hitler
podcast.
Youth conditioning. Love.
It's gonna be bad.
It's such a bummer, my dudes. It's
another lighthearted one.
Yeah, our minisodes are supposed to be like the break, and now we're going to be talking about Hitler fucking youth.
Yeah.
Do you know what I like? Do you know what I like that last podcast did? Last podcast did this series on the Nazi scientist. Oh fuck,
Ron.
Oh god,
Ron?
What's the Mengele?
Oh
Nazi
boy,
scientist Mengele.
yeah.
It was the most horrific thing I've listened to. It's a great series. You should listen to it if you haven't listened to it already. It's literally like, it made me cry. But it's, during their episode, they said it was a gold star episode, which means that it's like, if you listen to it all the way through, you get a gold star because it's really horrific and really bad.
Can't recommend it enough.
So, but
Yeah.
well, listen. But so they said that what they would do is throughout the podcast, they would have home improvement facts that they would just say during the podcast.
Yeah,
to
we
ease
might
the
need to
mood.
start doing that because I'm going to tell you right now that the modern slavery one is going to be so sad.
Yeah, we're gonna have to like talk about puppies in between all the stuff.
Right.
It's
just like
be rough.
corgis specifically.
So so then we have our mini-sode and we have our final heavy hitter, Brooke, bringing it home, and then our month break, which will be much deserved. We'll come back. Everything will be big and beautiful as we all love it to be. I don't think I have any other announcements.
No, I think that's gonna have to do it, kids.
Continue to talk to us if you have topic suggestions. Please let us know. We have a couple of ideas, but like we only did the CIA one because somebody suggested it to us, and that was a really, really fun one.
And that was like the craziest one.
So we love to hear from you. We love suggestions. We need to eventually do a story time and talk about my heinous group project. So maybe that'll be our first
Hell yeah!
mini-sode back because it'll be light.
Perfect.
All right.
Group projects are the worst.
Seriously. And I love you all so much. Thank you for being
all love
wonderful
you.
listeners. It's been real.
Sure has.
Deuces.
Bye.
See ya.
The Evidence Locker is a weekly podcast about international true crime. Made by hardcore true crime fans, it's somewhat grungy. Join us as we explore the dark corners of the globe. We've covered cases from Sweden, Brazil, Australia, and the US, to mention a few. Find us on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.